welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham. If you have a comment, email it to me, box13@greatdetectives.net. Follow us on Twitter @Radio Detectives and check us out on Instagram, instagram.com/greatdetectives. Today's program is brought to you in part by the financial support of our listeners. You can support the show on a one-time basis, support.greatdetectives.net. You can also become one of our ongoing Patreon supporters for as little as $2 per month. Just go over to patreon.greatdetectives.net. Well, now let's get into this week's adventure of Sam Spade. And this is another episode which was not really in circulation until about 3 or 4 years ago. The original air date is February the 2nd of 1947, and the title is The Dead Duck Keeper.
The Adventures of Sam Spade, Detective. Effie? Effie? Oh.
I waited. Say what you have to say and I'll go.
You've been through a tough time, sweetheart.
You didn't make it any easier.
You think it was a cakewalk for me? You think my nerves are made of rubber?
You have no nerve. You're just a cold, callous
Shut up.
old detective.
You're going to listen. You're going to sit still, not talk, and listen. When I've finished, you can say goodnight or goodbye. First, you're going to listen to me. Remember how it started? Yesterday evening when you told me it was your mother's birthday, you were giving a party, you said, and you wanted me to come? I tried to beg off, being no social butterfly, but Mom would be hurt, you said. And so the next thing I knew, there I was at your house, surrounded by 24 strangers, 10 gallons of lemonade, and your mother.
I've been wanting to have a talk with you, Mr. Spade, about Effie.
I can't think of a nicer subject, Mrs. Perrine.
Effie is just so devoted to you, Mr. Spade.
Yeah, well, I'm very devoted to Effie, too, Mrs. Perrine. What I mean is,
I think we should do something. He's dying on his feet.
You want me to spike the lemonade, Effie? It just so happens that I have here in my pocket a bottle of...
I have a wonderful idea. It'll make the party one big happy family. You just wait and see now. Wyatt! Quiet, everybody.
What's she up to?
She's had a game, probably. What is going on there?
That's all I need.
Your attention, please. Oh, excuse me. There's Miss Brent going now. Miss Brent? Oh, Miss Brent? Yeah, Miss Green. Won't you join the party? I'm not going to have an appointment. Oh, what a shame. Oh, do stay. Thank you, some other time. Oh, Lola's so nice. She rents the sitting room upstairs. I wish she could have stayed. Well, I'll explain the game now. Oh, Mrs. Trina, I think I'll stay after all. Oh, how nice. Oh, you brought a gentleman friend. Yeah, this is Marty. Marty? Oh, Marty, I'd like to...
Lola sat down and crossed her legs at me. On her left knee, where I would have preferred to see a dimple, I saw a tattoo mark. Her gentleman friend Marty was a small, stocky guy, all teeth and New York tie. He shook hands all around, and it felt like the fall of a stale stick.
And this is Mr. Spade. He's a private detective that he works for. Lola's in Kansas City, Mr. Spade.
Oh?
She's waiting for her husband to return from service overseas.
I'm glad he's coming home safely. Where's he stationed?
Japan. Yeah, now quiet, everybody, quiet. We're going to play charades. Oh, very simple. Now, you see, I'm the captain of Team A. Now, Dr. Burson, oh, he's so clever. He can be captain of Team B. Now, dears, quiet, everybody. Now, we'll both select the members of our team, and then each of you will write something on a slip of paper. We'll write a quotation or a phrase, the title of a song, whatever you like. Doesn't matter. Just something interesting and clever. Then I sing. Yes, I think that's right. You act out what you've written, all in pantomime. No words can be used, although sounds are permissible. Dears, you must listen to me or you can't play the game. Now, you can't play unless you know how. And then your team must guess what is written on the paper. You act it out. You 20? How many words? Oh, any amount of words. No, not over 10, no. That's too long yet. Now, everybody ready?
Teams were chosen. I wound up on Mrs. Perrine's Team A. Slips of paper were handed out to the guests. I wrote down, quoth the raven, nevermore. So I'd have to make like a raven. Everybody was getting settled. Lola Brent came up with it. He pushed a slip of paper into my hand.
This is your charade, Mr. Spade.
Oh, but I got
Isn't this
one.
fun? Please don't lose the charade I gave you.
And with that, she lost herself in the crowd. I pushed the paper she handed me into my pocket without looking at it. Her gentleman friend Marty, the little character with the New York tie, was out in the center of the floor acting his charade. He flapped his arms up and down, quacked twice, and rolled over on his back. Nobody got it, so he did it again.
Quack, 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 quack.
Wait a minute, Dead duck!
Dead duck.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? Now, Team A scores a win there. Let's go on, please. Yes, sir. Mr. Dead Duck, we bless you. Will you please get up now and we'll go on to the... Oh! Sam! Sam, he's dead!
And he certainly was. A deader duck I'd never seen. I bent to him, and his lips were turning blue. Somebody had spiked his last drink with a jigger of poison. 1 hour later, Dundee and the homicide boys, including the medic, had taken the stiff downtown. No one could identify him. Lola Brent had brought him to the party, but she'd taken a powder. You and Mom were kind of shaky, so I decided to spend the night on the sofa in the living room. Only used up about 3 hours of it when I heard the front door open. I figured it was Lola. I got to my feet, crossed to the hall, and found myself staring into the biggest 45 I ever saw.
Where's the duck?
Who?
He wants to know who, Colby.
Look, you don't want no trouble. You're protecting this Duke. Okay. All we want is the duck.
Try Walt Disney. I should have known they had no sense of humor. The butt of the gun caught me behind the left ear. That's where it usually catches. I don't know how much more sleep I packed away until I felt you shaking.
Sam! Sam!
Huh? Effie?
They took Mom. Those gunmen. They took Mom.
What happened?
They came into our bedroom. They hit me.
What?
Right here. And then they grabbed Mama. They wanted the duck. Hey, what were they saying? They took Mom out with them. I'll call the police.
Effie, no.
But they've got Mom. Oh, for heaven's sake, Sam. They took my mother with them.
No, we can't call the police. Not yet. They want something. Duck. I think Mom has it. She's safe for a while, but if we call the police...
Oh, Sam, what shall we do? What shall we do?
Keep our fingers crossed and play the rest of the caper by ear. So you promised that you wouldn't call the police until I gave you the nod. I went out to buzz the town. Figured it was an out-of-state mob, probably New York. Gunzels were after the duck. That made no sense. I thought I was the muscle for the juke joint. Hustled over to Jenny the Juke. She didn't know the score. Nobody would. The place was dark. Finally, she opened up and led me into the rear. When I mentioned the duck, he shut down tighter than a clam in December.
It's blisters, Sam. Blisters, I tell you. This ain't only the local law. This is the feds. Go away, Sam. My joint ain't juking for the duration.
Listen, Jenny, there's an out-of-state mob. They put the arm on my secretary's mother. She don't know the time of day. They pulled the wrong feather.
I don't hear a word you say, Sam.
They're mixed up in the juke joint with you. You know who they are. Where's the duck, Jenny?
Sam, you're winging in the breeze.
Now,
Sam.
give me a rundown, Jenny, or I'll tear your ears off. I want that old woman back safe.
You can't muscle me, Sam. You know why? Because you'll tear my ears off, and that's where you'll stop. That's where they begin.
Okay. One thing. You get word to them.
Maybe.
You try.
Maybe.
Tell them I've got the duck. I'll deal for the old woman.
I'll try. Go back to your office. If I can throw a little weight, you'll get a call. If I can't, you can come back for my ears.
And when I got back to the office, I had you on my hands. There's no rest to it.
But I can't just sit here. Do something.
We've got to sit and wait.
Maybe just tell me. Maybe. Oh, Sam, please call the police.
No, you got to sweat it out.
I can't. I can't go on like this.
Who sent you? What's your name?
I'm Dennis O'Rourke. I'm here to talk about stuff.
Good enough. Come into my office. Effie, you wait out here.
Sam.
Wait here, I said. Sit down.
Thank you. I'm a lawyer, Mr. Spade, and here to represent my client,
What's his name?
John Doe.
Mm-hmm. Jane Doe's big brother.
My client has been led to believe that you are prepared to produce the document.
More or less. What's it worth to your client?
My client is willing to trade the old woman for the document.
You go back and tell your client I'm a big boy now.
I don't understand, Mr. Spade.
This town is loaded with old women. All I have to do is walk up and down Market Street, but there's only one duck.
Seems to be a misunderstanding.
Well, let me put you straight. I've got the duck.
Wait.
I'll be cute. Your client wants the duck. Okay. 50 G.
$50,000, is it?
Things are high all over.
But the old woman is Mrs. Green. Aren't you interested?
Now, listen, you can do whatever you like about the old woman. So you got an old woman. Get rid of her however you want. That's your story. What's important is that you want the duck. I want 50 grand. We play?
No,
Effie.
I thought we had an audience the other side of the door.
What were you...
Shut up. Save it, Effie. It's his business. Easiest money of the season.
Well, if you're ready to talk business, we'll go and talk to my client, Mr. Spade. Now.
Let's go.
You can... Oh, Sam.
You've known me a long time, Effie. But maybe you don't know me.
The United States Armed Forces Radio Service is presenting the weekly adventure of Dashiell Hammett's famous private detective, Sam Spade.
The car that drove us down the peninsula was brand new. I could tell by the way the upholstery smelled and the careful way the driver handled it. O'Rourke, the lawyer, sat up front, and I sat in the back, squeezed between two gunners. The gun muzzle stuck into my ribs told me all I needed to know about them. The rest of it I had to guess at. Time is hard to judge when you're blindfolded, but there's only one main road out of San Francisco by land. I know the towns and stops along it fairly well. About 20 miles out of the city, the car turned off the main highway onto a gravel road. 5 minutes later, the blindfold came on. The fog was so thick, I still couldn't see much. Giannis pushed me ahead of him into a shack that looked like a summer vacation cot, with a sign over the door that said, Bide-A-Weed. Sallow, mean-looking little man with a heavily scarred face met us at the door. His right arm, just above the wrist, tattooed a small picture of a mallard duck. He glared at me and then at O'Rourke.
How come? I told you don't come back without her.
Haven't been my witness to see I did my utmost.
Huh?
It seems that Mr. Spade is interested in money.
What money? Did you tell him we got the old lady?
I did. I am afraid we've misjudged Mr. Spade. In short, that Mr. Spade is not in the least trifle.
What does he want?
You had better tell him, Mr. Spade.
50,000 now, another 50 G's when I deliver the duck.
100 G's is a lot of cash.
You can afford it.
Ugly, bring in the old lady.
Say, where you tie. You know these men.
This is a cute trick, Ducky, but it's going to cost you.
The lady spoke to you, Spade.
I told you it's going to cost you letting her see me here. And the longer she stands here staring at me, the more it's going to cost you.
Sam, what is...
Get her out of here!
Listen more than what you were going to say.
There, no more.
I want to go home. I really want to go home.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself, Spade. You've broken that old lady's heart.
Stop drooling.
What good talk from me? I ain't any this old lady.
I don't have to use words when I talk to you, Ducky. You won't do anything to me because I got something you need.
Okay, 100 G's. Pay the way you said.
Price has gone up.
Huh?
Kidnapping's a federal rap. I'm not taking any part of it.
We don't know she was snatched. We told her we are from the DA's office. Giving her a night as a witness.
You'll find out different.
I don't plan on settling down here.
Oh, that's fine, but I have to go on living in this town with that old hen alive and clucking. It won't be easy.
You mean you want we should knock off that sweet old lady?
You're a little slow, Ducky, but you'll get there.
I've met some lousy, low-down heels in my day, but you're the lousiest, lowest.
Come on. Come on, I can take more of it at these prices.
We ain't doing your dirty laundry, see?
No dice. Price is $100,000.
What if I say no?
And I turn over the duck to the federal board. In that case, I don't care whether the old lady stays alive or not, because I'll be playing their game. Either you're in or you're out. Think it over, Morden. The other side, you know where to reach.
Yeah. We'll know where to reach.
They drove me back to town blindfolded. When they let me out of the car, all I could see, even without the blindfold, was the corner of Post and Kearney. A streetcar came along. I tossed a coin whether to get on it or lie down on the tracks and let it run over me. Came up head, so I tossed it again, and I got on instead. I fished in my pocket for a slug and came up with a folded slip of paper. It was the one Lola had handed me at Mr. Perrine's birthday party when they were passing out the parts for that screwy charade game. I unfolded it and glanced at it. Then I read it over very carefully. The writing was hard to make out, but what I could read of it said, "Help me. That man Marty has followed me here to kill me. If I get out of here alive, Maxie's Arcade. I have $100. I got off at Columbus and walked up to the International Settlement where Maxie's Arcade does business. What they used to call a penny arcade before inflation set in. I dropped a nickel in a fortune-telling machine. Worried, perplexed, know thyself and your problems will vanish. A card came out that said, "You're of a naturally deceitful and secretive character. Disloyalty brings its own punishment. It's never too late to mend." I tore up the card, kicked the machine, and that's when I saw it. It was a narrow little booth, muffled in drapes, and the sign over it said, "Salty Hawkins, Tattoo Artist." The card, under the curtain, showed some typical tattoo designs, anchors, mermaids, fancy initials, but one had a hand-drawn picture pasted over it. It was a mallard duck, same as the tattoo mark I'd noticed on Ducky Morden's wrist. I pulled the curtain aside and went in.
Sir, what can I do for you, mate?
What do you know about the duck?
All in your jib, mate. There's no freshwater birds here about.
How about the new one you just put up in your card outside?
Oh, that's one, eh? Now, whereabouts? On the arm? 2-3 fella job.
Leg.
Whereabouts?
The left knee.
That's right, mate. It was on our knee.
You have you remove it for her?
Right, is that time, mate?
Know why?
Look, if I did, I wouldn't be telling strangers about our secret.
All right, where is she?
Take it easy, mate.
I haven't got time to take it easy, mate. Talk.
Sure, I'll have a gentle.
Come on, come on.
I was going to tell you now. She says to me, if a man comes
All
in...
right, shut up. Where is she?
Right in the back room, mate.
Spade, open up. Hello, Lola. Finally worked out your charade.
Come on in, quick. Were you followed here?
Wouldn't have come if I had been.
How much do you know?
They want you $100,000 worth. You tell me why.
You've seen Ducky Morton?
Yeah.
Didn't he tell you?
I want to hear it from you.
Don't believe anything he says. Morning here and I didn't even give me the time of day. He says he wants me back that way. He's a liar.
How does he want you back?
But Richard Mortis, he wants me back. I'm taking an awful chance opening up to you like this. Let him catch me. They'd only kill me. Humane. He used to let the DA people get at me, Ducky's mob at Lakeland, and it took them years. And... Oh, gee, you don't know, Sam. They torture girls. What that mob would do to me if I had to testify against
Okay,
him.
I take your word for that. Who are these DA people you're talking about?
You never heard of Ducky Morton before?
I heard his name. I thought he was knocked over when they had the big racket busting show in New York years ago.
Yeah, I guess a lot of people think that. It wasn't healthy to mention Ducky's name.
What was the racket?
Juke joints. Giving nickels to servicemen, rolling them. That's why the feds are helping the DA's office. They arrested hundreds of girls and held them as material witnesses. Only they wanted me most of all. I ripped the joint, you see, and I was Ducky's girlfriend during the duration.
I think you'd be only too happy to tell what you know about him in court.
Oh, gee, I would if I did, but you don't know. The DA's office say they'll give a girl protection, but how can they?
What are you doing in San Francisco?
Running away. Had my ticket on a boat. I was going to Honolulu. He was watching the boats. Then I found this room out in Oakland. Mrs. Perrine was real nice to me. I never thought they'd find me there. And then Marty showed up. Honest, it was just a Mickey I put in his drink. Just like we used in the joints, I never knew it'd kill him.
You're a brave kid, Lola. Now look, Ducky offered me $100,000 to deliver you. You take a chance of me fighting it out with him for half of that?
For $50,000? Brother, where are we meeting him?
O'Rourke's car was parked outside my apartment building where I had a hunch it would be. Two gunners picked us up at the door, unloaded my hardware, and marched us up the stairs. Ducky opened the door of my apartment and waved us inside.
Honey, we gotta
Keep
go
the
along.
plant outside, you two.
Ducky, listen to me.
Sit down. You too, Lola.
Ducky, I swear I never said a word. I'd never talk, Ducky, even if they chopped my head off.
We'll take up your suggestion later. I got a conference on with Mr. Spade here.
Bring the money?
Don't crowd me. There's that other matter. The old lady.
How about the old
I
lady?
keep my word, Spade. You delivered the duck, okay. The way Jenny gave it out to O'Rourke was the old lady for the duck. But you ain't got no ethics. You see, you figured me wrong. I don't kill old ladies.
You're going to kill the duck.
I ain't no old lady.
No, you ain't. And you ain't gonna get any older. And neither are you, Spade.
He wasn't kidding. He really meant to knock me over, and the gun he was going to do it with got ready to speak its piece. I'd made my play too strong. The way this type of guns defense is simple, and I'd guessed it right. If you pressure them, they go the other way by instinct. But what I hadn't figured was that this killer had a heart of lettuce. He was going to cut me down to protect your mother from me. Yeah, like that. I couldn't change my play now. The wheel was already spinning, and so was my head. I tried to brace myself and waited for the blast.
Oh, dear. Dropped the tray.
Mrs. Perrine, what are you doing here?
I was just making some coffee for the boys. Oh, dear. I've broken your cup.
That's okay, Mother. We'll take care of it. Ugly, pick it up.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Bugsy. I'm so glad you got my message, Sam. Didn't Effie come with you?
Yeah. I mean, no. I
I
mean...
wanted to surprise you both together. I hope you don't mind my taking over the kitchen. It was so late and the boys were getting hungry, so I took some coffee and cakes.
That was very nice.
Mr. Morden, put that crystal down for a moment and help me move this table out of the room.
Huh? Oh, sure, Mother.
Thank you. Oh, we've had such a good time. I've never been up so late in my life. Mr. Bugsy and I played a game called Blackjack. I won $50. Wait till Effie moves up.
Yeah, right if he hears.
I suppose Effie will come with Mr. Bundy.
Bundy?
Oh, yes. I remember that Effie said you and she were often down at his office at police headquarters late at night. So I phoned there.
Mother,
Yes, Mr. Murphy?
did you say you phoned police headquarters?
Oh, yes. That's where Mr. Bundy works.
Mother, what did you tell Mr. Bundy?
Oh, just that you and the boys were here and that we were about to have some coffee. And he said he'd just about to come up and join us. And I said, do. And he said he would. With some of his boys. Did I say something wrong?
No, Mom, not at all.
I believe that's Mr. Bundy now.
When the smoke cleared away, Ducky Mordaunt and his hoods were playing dead duck for keeps on my living room rug. That rug just came back from the cleaners, too. Dundee and the boys from Homicide took Lola Brent away with them. After it was all cleaned up, I found your mother out in the kitchen.
There, Sam. I just made another pot of coffee.
Oh, it's okay, Mom. It's okay. It's all over now.
I know. I've been holding this bag. Oh, Sam. I've never been so frightened in all my life. How does Effie stand it?
You paid it good, Mom. You paid it real good.
Did I? Was I as brave as Effie?
Brave. Not only that, you got more brains.
This is the United States Armed Forces Radio Service, the voice of information and education.
Welcome back. Having this come into circulation is a really nice find. And it's not just because without it, we'd have 10.5 months straight of missing episodes. And to be frank, any missing episode from this period is welcome. We always welcome missing episodes, regardless of where they come from. But this is still a massive gap at the start of the series. Even with recently added episodes, we have only 4 episodes for all of 1947, and a grand total of 8 episodes during the series' first 23 months on the air. But that's not the only reason that this episode is such a welcome addition to the circulating program. This episode brings to life a character who is mentioned but never on stage in the novel The Maltese Falcon. In the novel, it's established that Effie lives with her mother, and Spade actually has Bridget O'Shaughnessy go hide out at Mrs. Perrine's place. One big change from the novel is that in The Maltese Falcon, Mrs. Perrine didn't like Sam. Now, we can interpret this, I guess, in a couple of ways. Either, 1, the radio writers just decided to change things. Or 2, Mrs. Perrine's attitude towards Sam changed in the intervening years. As established in The Candy Tooth Caper, the series was set 7 years after the events of The Maltese Falcon, leaving plenty of opportunity for Sam to do something that actually impresses Mrs. Perrine. It's also of note that we hear that line again, either you're in or you're out, which is a direct quote from The Maltese Falcon, and something that it feels like the radio series wants to have as a callback. Signal this as Sam's modus operandi to really press the villains. He's pretending to cooperate with them. I forget if this continues on through the series, but it's definitely an interesting note to come back to. Sam certainly risked a lot, aka Mrs. Perrine's life, on his understanding of criminal psychology. Thankfully for everyone involved, he turned out to be right. I did miss the final scene with Effie when she found out what Sam had done. I'm so used to the established way those episodes end. There are, of course, a number of possibilities that occur. First, this was still relatively early in the series, and that ending wrap-up between Sam and Effie may not have been a sort of non-negotiable signature way to end the episode. Option 2, maybe that was missing from the recording. There's no indication of that per se, and so I tend to lean towards it just being that we get the scene between Sam and Effie's mother that we just presume, and I think justifiably so, that of course Effie is going to continue on with Sam having heard the explanation. I didn't recognize the actress who played Effie's mother. I wonder if that was Lorene Tuttle doing doubles. She was definitely a talented enough actress to do so. So maybe. Now let's go ahead and thank our Patreon supporter of the day. I want to go ahead and thank Murph MCB. Murph MCB has been one of our Patreon supporters since February 2021, currently supporting us at the Seamus level of $4 or more per month. Well, that will actually do it for today. If you are enjoying this podcast, please rate and review it wherever you download your podcast from. We'll be back next Monday with another adventure with Sam Spade, but join us back here tomorrow for Mr. Chameleon, where...
McGinnis, I'm told that you reported a murder here. I'm Chameleon of Central Police Headquarters, and this is Detective Dave Arnold.
How do you do, ma'am?
I know funny ain't the right word for it, Mr. Chameleon, but I never got the education my daughter Minnie got. Anyhow, this is the kind of murder that just don't happen.
I understand the chap that your daughter married today in the season's most fashionable wedding was murdered.
Yes, the Prince of Romney. And poor Minnie's heart's just about breaking.
Well, naturally, Mrs. McGinnis.
She was wild about him. And him a prince of the blood, too. Minnie always had her heart set on marrying into royalty.
She inherited a fabulous fortune from her father, didn't she? At least that's what I heard.
$5 million, Mr. Chameleon. My poor dead husband, Mike, rest his soul, hid oil, dig in a cistern, and pulled out $10 million that he split between Minnie and me.
Have you any idea who killed the prince?
Sure. His best man did him in.
What?
The Earl of Fenton. Sounds like one of them dime novels I used to read when I was a kid. Earl killing princes and things.
You say the prince's best man at his wedding killed him? It's amazing.
Yes. Ain't it, Mr. Chameleon?
Did you actually witness the murder?
Sure. I wouldn't be telling you what I am.
All right. Let me hear what happened, Mrs. McGinnis.
It was like this.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter and the prince was just starting off on their honeymoon. And sudden like, that Earl Penton come running in.
Yes?
The Earl said something about the prince owing him $250,000. The prince got real hot and said he was only $20,000.
Both big sums of money.
Then they really got to brawling. So to settle things down, my daughter Minnie stepped in and gave the Earl her check for $20,000. The prince didn't have a banking account big enough in this country, you see.
I hope you'll be with us then. In the meantime, do send your comments to box13@greatdetectives.net. Follow us on Twitter @Radio Detectives, and check us out on Instagram, instagram.com/greatdetectives. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off.